Hi everyone, it's Aidan here from TCI China. Over the years, a lot of people have been coming to me and asking me for assistance in relation to helping them with trademarks. They may have discovered that when they were exporting products from China, that those trademarks which they were using on their products actually has been registered by somebody else and the stuff is stopped at the customs or in the ports in China. Or those who are selling into China have found that they've received a letter or a notification from a third party saying that they must compensate them because they are infringing on their rights as they've registered those trademarks in China. So it's vital that you get your IP protected, especially when you're looking at doing business in China. In China, it's very important to remember that it's a first come, first served basis. So in other words, that anybody can go into the office in China, the government office, and they can register a trademark irrespective of whether they have an association with that or not. Even though China has signed up to various World Trade Organization and regulatory requirements like the WIPO, there's still that process where you can just go in off the street, register a trademark. And this seems to be happening quite a lot, especially with the advent of e-commerce, whereby people will go on the internet, they'll search for foreign companies, see brands that are being sold, and they just go in then and register those brand names under their name. So it's very important that you make sure, if you're going to do any business with China, that you get your brand name and trademark registered there. So what's the process? Well, firstly, it takes about 18 months for this thing to happen, whereby from beginning to end you have to go in and register and go through the whole process. But by about 18 months generally is when you will have it confirmed. But again, the good thing is that it's a first come, first served. So if you get in and you get your name into the system first, you're ahead of everybody else who may come in after you. So even though you may have to wait for 18 months, you will still be able to protect yourself by getting into the process. Now, the process really takes 4 different stages. The first stage is whereby you might go in and you might check to see if your logos and your brand names will be accepted by the Chinese authorities to be trademarked. This can take maybe 3 or 4 weeks for it to be done. And then after that time, once you've discovered which words and which logos are acceptable, then you might go on to stage 2, which is actually making the initial application with the Chinese regulatory authorities. And the Chinese regulatory authorities it's called the CTRB, and that's the name for them. And what you have to do is, CTRB, by the way, represents the China Trademark Registration Bureau. And what it takes, you fill out the first stage of the application and then you send that to CTRB. It takes about 3 months for them to go through that stage, and what they will say is they'll initially approve it or reject it. So they say, oh, your application is fine, so you now may process, and we may process to see that your application is accepted to be registered in our system. The second one takes about 12 months after that, and that's essentially what they say is, we're going to approve or reject your trademark application. So this is the big one. And again, in that stage, they're kind of waiting for people to make applications to prevent it. They're kind of waiting to see if anything else might pop up. So essentially it's a waiting game. They're sitting there with the stuff on the system, but they're just waiting for it to go through. And the last stage, which is about 17 months to 18 months after you've made the initial application, is they issue you with a certification. Now, in China, everything's electronic, so you will receive an electronic application or an electronic approval from the government, and it's put onto a system. It's all in Chinese, so if you look for it in English, you're just going to have to use translators for it. Now, my company, TCI China, we've been doing this for many years with companies, and there's always little twists and turns in it. When you go to register your trademark in China, you need to make sure you've got the right classification code to link your product up to. So, for example, if you're selling in meat products or food products, you need to go into those classifications of meat or food. If you're selling services, you need to go into a services classification, and so on and so forth. There's a list of classifications. Again, I'm delighted if you want to email me or subscribe to our account and send me a message. I will be able to pass you on the various classifications that you would need to use. The second thing is that you've got a name of a location or a region within your name. It's going to be very difficult for the Chinese to accept that. So for example, if I'm from Ireland, you've got Ireland Food Inc. that name won't be registered with China. It'll be very difficult because the fact that the word Ireland is in it. Now it's very detailed, so I know a lot of clients who might be in Canada or the United States or Europe who may use a local area or region or lake or pond or mountain or something like that, and the Chinese will realize that's a geographic area and they won't accept it. So when you're going in to make your application, you've got to go in and make sure it's right. The next thing also you've got to do is protect your logo and your artwork, and get that approved at the same time as well. It's in the same process. Now, a lot of people that say, okay, I've got my trademark done, that's me protected. Well, it is, but now what you need to do is send out the watchdogs. So what we always recommend then is you go in and you register that trademark, get that trademark registered with the Chinese customs. So once you've got your trademark confirmed, you register with the Chinese customs, and then they will start watching it in the various ports and airports to make sure that nothing's being sent out with your trademark on it. And this again is being used a lot by companies who are going for devious means. They steal somebody's trademark, we'd say in Europe or the States. That company's buying the stuff from China. They go in and register that trademark in China. They then register with the customs, who are then forced to stop the buyer in Europe or America from taking the products out of the country because they see that trademark is registered to a third party and not associated with them. And it can prove quite difficult to do it. Again, I might make a later video explaining some of the ways to try and get over that problem. But as we stand at the moment, it's just a major obstacle. It becomes a right pain in the neck. So if you can avoid it, it's best to avoid it. Now, as I mentioned before, if you find that your company's trademark has already been taken by a company, you need to get in very, very quickly and get legal guidance to try and resolve this problem. Again, I'm delighted to try and assist you and guide you on that. And again, if you want to email me about that or you have any problems, I'd be delighted to help. But it has been known that this happens, and it's been known that people inadvertently get the trademarks registered. So it's very much important that once you find that happens, is that you seek legal advice as quickly as possible. That's really all I've got to talk about in relation to trademarks at the moment. It can be very complicated. It's always evolving because it's China. So if you have any questions or anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks very much, and please subscribe below, and I'll be putting on more information about how to do business in China, how to do business internationally, and also there's always going to be some tips and guidelines and everything else. You'll find down below in our information section links to various information about trademarks. And again, thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.